Dear friends in Jesus Christ, today we commemorate the Lord's Supper, the Last Supper of Jesus. Today we end the season of the Lent and enter into the Easter Triduum. In these 3 days, we remember the passion, the death, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. In this Eucharist, we find no dismissal at the end. And tomorrow, in the liturgy of the Good Friday, we see there is no welcoming rite as well as there is no dismissal rite. Same way, on the Easter night, the liturgy will have no welcoming but will end with a dismissal rite. Thus, the liturgy of this Triduum from Holy Thursday takes us through the Good Friday to the Easter Vigil is meant to be a continuous memorial and celebration of the climatic moments of Jesus, the passion, the death, and his resurrection. In the first reading from the book of Exodus, we heard God instructing how to prepare and how to eat the Passover meal, the meal which was important for Jews and background for the Last Supper and then the Eucharist. The passage of the second reading from the first letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians is acknowledged as one of the earliest fragments of Christian tradition preserved in the New Testament. This is not a complete description of the Last Supper, but a liturgical account of the Last Supper. St. Paul has selected and interpreted the features of the meal which were important for the Christian Eucharist. The mention of the supper between the bread and the cup indicates its primitive character. Only Paul and Luke mention the command to repeat it in memory of Christ. So the second reading of today precisely speaks about the Eucharist of the early church. In the Gospel reading, we heard of the washing of the feet of the disciples by Jesus in the context of the Last Supper. It is an act of love, it is an act of humility, and it is an act of service. All the three readings of today's liturgy speak about the Eucharist and its character of love, humility, and service. Today, we also celebrate the institution of the Eucharist and the institution of the priesthood. Both are connected to the symbolic gesture of the washing of feet. Love, humility, and service are the heart of the Eucharist and foundation of priesthood. Washing of the feet was one of the customs at the time of Jesus, where a slave would wash the feet of his master as soon as the master arrives home. By washing the feet of his disciples, Jesus becomes a slave, humbles himself, and serves others. Priest is a human face of the divine Christ. Thus, priest has to become a man of love, a man of humility, and a man of service. Eucharist also has these three characteristics of love, humility, and service. Eucharist is the center of Christian life. Thus, every Christian must become the person of love, person of humility, and the person of service. Washing of feet is an unique character of today's liturgy. It is a symbolic gesture. It expresses the values of love, humility, and service. We are called to be loving persons. Love without reasons. Love without demands. Love without expectations. Love without conditions. We are called to be humble persons, not expecting rewards and glories. Let us give our best without being acknowledged. And let us not crave to be at the center of attention. We are called to be serving persons. We all have an universal duty and responsibility to serve for the well being of others. No one is stranger to us. No one is enemy for us. All are our brothers, sisters, and neighbors. May this liturgy help us to become persons of love, persons of humility, and persons of service. Amen.